this is how I communicate to coaches now on our team is I feel like if you're leading people, you have a lot of jobs, but two specific jobs. One is holding up the picture, and the picture is what they painted. Like, I want to know what their vision is, what they're trying to accomplish, what their goals and dreams are. And there's a component of listening that has to be a part of that, right? A relationship that has to be a part of that. So that when it does get to hard times, when it does get to difficulties, I can hold the picture up and say, this is who you said you were. This is who you said you were. You're almost there. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Life Insurance Academy. It is Zach and I, and we're going to drop some dimes here.
Yeah, we're going to have fun today.
We're going to have fun. Today we are talking about developing and leading your team.
Yes.
And it's important. We don't talk a lot about this stuff, but it's important because if you read about leadership, you find out that there are different levels, and there's this position level, there's a production level, there's a relationship level, and then there's this other part, and it's development, being able to develop people and duplicate. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to hit it on a high level. We want to give you some practical, tactical pieces so that you can be successful if you have maybe a small team, maybe you have a large team, but hopefully you take something away and you're able to generate some more AP, some production for your team.
A lot of this is focused on coaching, and I love the aspect of this because I know, and it's very similar for you, Chris, because we both, when we started, I had my team, you had your team, and we worked really good together, even though we weren't on each other's teams at all and didn't benefit from each other's team's growth. But I've learned so much from you in your coaching style, which is different than my coaching style, and not one is better than the other. But how important a coach is, but really defining what that means. And a lot of us have the reason we're in this business anyways is because there's some sort of competitiveness. There's some sort of hunger, desire to win that fuels us in this insurance game. So I love this idea of coaching, and sometimes coaches need a coach. Yeah. Everybody's got a coach.
Everybody needs a coach.
Everybody needs a coach. But no, I was looking at this, and I sent it to Adam.
You were giggling. I was giggling before we started.
Because I was thinking of sports, right? I was thinking of coaching. I'm thinking of sports. I'm in the mindset of that. And the one thing that popped up with your outfit you have on right now, you remind me of the guy in Hook when they're in the baseball scene and he's pitching.
Oh, yeah.
Man, you look just like him. You look just like him.
Yeah, that's
hit a home run.
That's right.
But anyways, maybe
different outfit.
Maybe Adam can throw it on the screen for the people. But
he's going to edit this out.
It's competitive. I was thinking of the coach, right?
I am ferociously competitive.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to focus on today, like you said, Chris, there's so many different agents in this game. You could be brand new and you have 2 or 3 buddies that are coming on with you right now. Well, they kind of are looking up to you. You are in somewhat their coach. You could have a team of 5 to 10 agents. You could have a team of 50 agents. You could have been an insurance coach for a long time, and some of this could be review, or there's some little tweaks that maybe you used to do and very successful at, but because of time, because of energy, because of things going on in your life, you could have drifted away from some of these different principles. Because I know it's happened to me multiple times. But really, what does it mean to be an insurance coach? One thing we do at Life Insurance Academy here is we have a coaching call every Thursday. And we do these live. We do them on Zoom. They're a lot of fun. And the biggest part about it is they're engaging. They're engaging, right? So when you talk about being an insurance coach, there's so many people out there that assume that it's, hey, Chris, I'm your upline, or I'm your team leader, or I'm your coach. Hey, just do this. Mm-hmm. Just do that. I know what's best for you. But when you look at the coaches in history, some of the best coaches out there, some of the ones And again, there's so many different coaching styles. Doc Rivers has obviously won a championship. Phil Jackson's won a slew of championships. But they're drastically different in their coaching style. Phil Jackson basically sits down the entire time, right? He coached, he had a three-peat with Michael Jordan. He had a three-peat with Kobe Bryant and Shaq. But looking at their style, and I really want to get into this, and I really want to know your thoughts, because you're one of the best I know when it comes to leadership and developing leaders. But what do you see out there in the insurance space that these uplines or team leaders or agency owners that are doing versus coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think the majority of what I see of, if we're talking about like the mistakes, is that what you're saying? Like, what are some of the?
Could be.
Yeah. So the majority of the mistakes that I see are related to position, and you get a tag or a name tag that you get to wear this that says supervisor, and it's bright and shiny.
It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bright and shiny, and that because there's no understanding or limited understanding of leadership, of development, and I've done this. I know I've done this in different areas of my life where you let the title step into the room before you do.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow, that's very well said.
And you expect people to move a certain way out of respect for that title. And I think what's lost sometimes for people who's starting a new position in leadership is understanding, like, when you're stepping into that role of a coach or an upline. Well, a coach is an upline. That's what it is, right?
Yep.
Because you are receiving an override. That override is something that you should earn. That's what we believe. You should earn that override. And if you are stepping into that position, you are sharing the responsibility of the hopes and dreams of the people on your team. And I think sometimes that is forgotten.
And can I add something to that? Because that's so very well said that you earn that override. But I want to add, you have to continuously earn that override. It's
Correct.
not that you invited somebody to the industry, their opportunity, and then they're forever indebted to you for the rest of their lives, no matter what they do, how successful. It's all
Right.
because of you in that moment. When it comes to earning that override, you have to continue to earn that override over and over again, above and beyond. Yes, you may have taught them how to make a phone call. Yes, you may have taught them how to do a door knock. Yes, you may have helped them mentally. But what happens? What kind of coach are you? What are you going to do next once they master that phone call, once they master that door knock, once they are being successful? When it talks about being a coach, coaches just don't leave at the end of the first quarter if they have a big lead. Right? What do they do then? They work on adjustments. They continue to try different
It's
defenses and different things.
It's funny because if you watch good coaches, even when they're blowing out a team, they're still coaching at a high level. Like they're like, why are you in this position? Why are you doing that? They're pulling kids aside.
But why?
Because their goal is to make them live up to their greatest potential. That's the goal, and for the team to perform at its highest potential.
Because even if you're talented, even if your team is talented, you can hit a lull, right? You can get a slump. You can lose to another team when you shouldn't. You can lay an egg, right? You're not always performing at peak performance. The reasons coaches do that is to always optimize their performance to it's always at its peak performance.
Yeah.
But here's another thing. When they're successful, they're not kicked back, like you said. They're never kicked back with their leg up. That's usually when they try to implement new things.
Correct.
And so when you relate that to being an insurance coach, let's say you are a leader and you've mastered this particular section of insurance, whether that be mortgage protection, whether that be final expense door knocking, and maybe you want to dabble into telesales or opposite, right? You want to switch them around. When your team is being successful, as a good coach, you want to continue to challenge and push them and implement a new strategy so they stay interested, so they stay focused, and you're enhancing their skill set throughout that time. That's when you add that new defense in. That's when you add that new type of sales in, or that other type of lead. Once your team is having a really good week, then you can add a little something to then further their potential.
Yeah, I like that. And I don't want to discourage people. I want to be very careful of not discouraging people of stepping into that. Like you should, and you probably should earlier, because one of the reasons that made me successful in sales was because I had people in my car early. Like I was showing people this process while I was still trying to figure out the process. But there's a difference in between, I guess faking it to make it. At some levels, you kind of have to, as you're trying to learn and figure it out, and being real and transparent. And you're having somebody in your car with you and saying, listen, this is what I see. This is what it's produced for me. I'm learning this. I'm going to show you what I'm learning. I don't have all the answers, but we're going to figure this out.
I don't know
together.
if that's faking it, man.
Right.
That's being vulnerable and honest,
Mm-hmm.
And you're teaching up to your capacity at that moment.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is when you talk about being a coach, there's two sides of it, right? And this is what we face all the time when it comes to new agents and teams. I get questions from agency owners and managers all the time when their agent or the person with them doesn't seem to be coachable. What do you see in that, or what does it even mean to be coachable?
Being coachable, the ability to receive information and implement it. I think that's good.
Yeah, I would say that is a pretty good definition, and we all understand that. We've all had a coach or relationship where it was kind of difficult to follow, or I know if you're in the insurance space, we've all had some producers on our team that just wouldn't seem to be open-minded to learning or making adjustments, and it could be from a variety of reasons. But I always tell people this, that you always want to invest in the agents that are coachable and that are leaning in, that are hungry, that are demanding your attention, that are wanting to learn from you, that want to take your experience and apply it to themselves, that they're not necessarily trying to carve that path 100% on their own. They want to use your mistakes as their own so they don't have to go through those roadblocks.
Yeah. And I still think that there's an opportunity with people who need to learn how to be coachable, right? They may be uncoachable because they've never been coached. They may be uncoachable because they're stubborn. I don't know what the reason is, but my take on things has been with teams or people that I'm training or coaching is I'm just going to tell them what I see. I'm going to tell them the truth. Like you're saying you want these results, and we're showing you how to get those results, but I wouldn't do what you're doing for a living.
You've said that a lot.
I wouldn't do that. That's really hard. I don't know why you're doing that. Or other times, this is how I communicate to coaches now on our team is I feel like if you're leading people, you have a lot of jobs, but two specific jobs. One is holding up the picture, and the picture is what they painted. Like, I want to know what their vision is, what they're trying to accomplish, what their goals and dreams are. And there's a component of listening that has to be a part of that, right? A relationship that has to be a part of that. So that when it does get to hard times, when it does get to difficulties, I can hold the picture up and say, this is who you said you were. This is who you said you were. You're almost there.
That's so important because there's a universal rule, Chris. Nobody likes to be told what to do.
Right. Yes.
Nobody likes to be
They don't want to be sold.
told.
They don't want to be told what to do.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the same in the home with the client. Now, if you make it their idea or you put reason and why behind it, and it's not your reason or for your benefit, but just like you said, you have a picture of what they want to accomplish, you hold that in front of them, that's what's going to move them. When you're in the home doing an insurance sale, you reveal their vulnerabilities for the family, you show that to them, you reveal it to them, they understand it, then they want to take care of it. You can't tell them they buy insurance, you can't tell them that they need insurance. Right? You just ask questions that reveals it to them.
Yeah.
That's no different than being a coach of your team.
Yeah.
You ask questions to reveal it. And I wrote down a couple key things here, and feel free to add any of them that you want. But when I'm thinking of what a coach does, right? And when you relate that to insurance, because it's no different. A lot of times I see a lot of insurance coaches or uplines that maybe you've never been taught how to coach or to understand. But a coach should be universal, right? Doesn't matter what sport it is, doesn't matter what career it is, doesn't matter if it's a life coach, Tony Robbins, it could be anybody, right? They all have these same principles. And if you call yourself a coach or you're in the insurance space coach, maybe some of these are things you can add or make adjustments on yourself. But one of them would be coaches listen.
Yeah.
They listen. And that may sound strange, right? So they're listening to their players. They're listening to their emotions. They're listening to who's feeling it tonight, who's not feeling it tonight, who's on a high, who's on a low. They're feeling out their team in practice, which could be rehearsing their presentation or doing the training calls. They're filling out their team during their games. They're watching them perform, which could be directly related to being on a Zoom with their client or listening into a recording of a cell, right?
Yeah.
But they're always listening, and they're listening to analyze. They're analyzing. They're seeing what's going on. They're seeing what things have been working, what things are not be working. What's
Correct.
their tonality? They're really being an observer. This is very similar to a caddy or a swing coach in golf. Some people may say, well, they just carry a bag and that's it, right? But they are actually reading the wind. They're reading the player's emotions. They know when to call a safe shot for their player or not. They know what angles are there. They look at the lie of the ball. They look at everything, and they analyze the situation. And then they strategize.
Yeah.
Okay? So with your agent, based upon everything you've heard, based upon what you're seeing, what's going on, they put a strategy together of how to climb out of this hole financially, or to how to gain some momentum and start purchasing leads, to maybe build up funds to buy a different kind of lead. Or they may be strategizing to hit a personal goal, or to hit to win a carrier trip. But all of that is still putting a game plan and a goal together to achieving that picture that you just talked about, Chris.
Yeah.
Of their family literally holding it up, of what they want to accomplish in their life and their dream. A good coach is going to know where every single player on their team wants to go. The other thing is making adjustments. I love making adjustments, because when you notice when something's not going good in the game, what happens?
The whole attitude stinks, and then then the team's its momentum's moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and then the coach usually calls a timeout. They call a timeout, right? How many times have you had an agent a timeout in the field with an agent?
Oh, plenty of times.
Plenty of times.
Oh yeah.
I have too. That timeout, it allows you to calm down, hit that reset button, because if you're a coach and you're not analyzing, you're not watching, and the only thing you're doing is saying, have a good week, team, and you're letting your team just flow, if that momentum's going in the wrong direction, it could be a huge loss for everybody, right? You have to know when to be able to call a timeout, pull the team together, calm them down, make those adjustments, and to get out there. And the next one is to execute the game plan. There's not a coach out there that's been successful anywhere that didn't have a game plan, that didn't pre-scout the team they're going to play, that didn't have a full strategy of how they're going to attack this week. And it changes because their opponent changes, the obstacles change, the seasons change, sometimes the leads change, sometimes COVID happens, your whole way you're selling changes. So it's always looking to execute that game plan for that next week. Believe it or not, you as the coach, you're the one leading all of this. You're the one implementing all of this. You're the ones driving the bus on all of this for your team. Question is, are you doing it?
Right. Yeah, that's the two signs I talk about is the one they hold up is their vision, and then when we talk about action, implementation, and accountability, that's a big part of this coaching piece is their commitment to a plan. Your commitment to be in the plan with them. But the other thing is a mirror. That's the other thing you're holding up, because you're saying this is where you want to go, who you want to be. This is who you really are. Like you said, your goal was to make $200,000 this year, but you take off Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's going to be very difficult to do that. So this is who you are. This is where you want to go. And, our philosophy and, our system is to meet people where they are, help them get where they want to go, but cast vision along the way to help them see something bigger. And that's what I think a coach does too,
I got a question to that, because that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Let's assume I'm a brand new agent, and I'm just leading a team. How often do you redefine that picture for their family? And the second question is, how often do you hold that mirror to what they told you?
That initial question, say that first question again, was how often
do you
adjust that?
Do you look at that picture of what they want to accomplish?
Right. Well, that picture should have timelines on it. So, if they have things they want to hit, benchmarks they want to hit, there's going to be short-term pieces, there's going to be long-term pieces. And if we're meeting on a regular basis, we're reviewing their numbers, we're looking at, that could be weekly, right?
Oh, yeah.
Reviewing their numbers and saying, okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is what you were hoping for. I don't know if you're hitting those numbers. You're going to adjust one way or the other. You're going to adjust. They hit the goal. You're saying, man, that's awesome.
You're adjusting your activity or the picture.
Yeah. That's why I say it's a pat on the back or a foot in the butt. It's one or the other, right? Mm-hmm. We have to be honest with ourselves. That's the whole point of the team, And it can be this can be tricky too, because I do feel like there are groups out there who have they function, they have an identity that they function highly. They're bringing in people, and they feel like everybody has to perform at the same level. Like, we have a benchmark on our team, and we will crush this benchmark. And then you have Pam, who's a full-time teacher working on the weekends.
Yeah.
She's supposed to write $7,000 a week in your system, and now she's considered a failure because she's not that level, right?
Yeah.
So is that fair? We have to look at what we're trying to accomplish as a goal, as a team. We can fight for that as a team.
Is it safe to say that you're coaching your team, but you're also coaching the individual?
Yeah, especially in this business. Yeah, you're coaching a team. You can fight for a production as a team. Matter of fact, if you're trying to hit a goal, and I saw you do this with your team, when you're trying to hit a goal, your team will fight for you to hit it. Mm-hmm. They will fight for you with that, and that's cool. Like, you're celebrating that together, and you're not sandbagging, you're not dragging, you're leading from the front, mm-hmm. and they're excited when you hit those goals, because when they see you do it, they know it's possible to do it.
Right.
So if you are, really, you're a player coach in this, that's different, right?
That's exactly what it is. Now, I love the idea of the mirror concept, because that is so true. But I want you to speak to how often do you turn the mirror on yourself as the coach?
Oh, you should do that every day. You
Yeah?
should do that every day. I'm a big believer in that, man. Like, if you ever read, I can't remember his last name, and I should, but it's Jocko, the Marine dude.
Dude, if you have a name
Extreme,
like that, Extreme Ownership.
Extreme Ownership.
If you have a name like Jocko, you don't need a last name. I would drop it.
He tells the story in the book of the Navy. What is it? What's the Marine thing?
The Navy SEALs.
They're not Navy SEALs. What are they? What are the Marines?
The Marines.
They're Marines.
They're the few, the proud.
The top thing. It is Navy SEALs, right? Just delete that. Take that out. No. So they're in the Navy SEALs training. He's a Navy SEAL, right? Mm-hmm. And in that training, they had an underperforming team, and they had the number one team, mm-hmm. right? And they're struggling. This team's struggling. This team's winning. And their commanders are like, it's you. You're the problem. You're the problem. You need to change your attitude. You need to fix this. And the guy's like, no, it's them. It's them. Are you kidding me? They're the ones who are causing all this. This is why we're losing. They switched them. They took the best, the leader from the best and the worst, and they switched the leaders, and the team that was coming in last came in first.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was all about the leadership. And the point is, like, you as a leader, you have to take ownership every day. Every day. It's a look in the mirror every day. Sometimes you may not be paying attention. Maybe you're busy and you're not dialed in. Then you better have some people who are doing those same things for you, holding up the picture, holding up the mirror, those same things.
So that leads to the next question. Who is your coach, right?
Yeah, like 100%.
If you're holding up the picture and coaching and you need to take extreme ownership every day,
yeah,
who is pouring into your life as the coach? Right? Who is leaning into you? Who are you learning from? Is it a book? Is it a podcast? Is it
it can't be just those pieces, man. Like it's an all of the above approach in this day and age, because I think it's too easy to say, yeah, I read a book. Those are my mentors. I mean, those are the guys, on the shelf, like John Maxwell. Oh man, but he doesn't know you. He doesn't know your story. He doesn't know your tendencies. Like where you.
It's like you coach an insurance team, but you send a once a week email.
Right.
And hope they read it.
Yeah. It's not going to work. Like there's the Bible tells us, like, as iron sharpens iron, so does a man another man. Like, that's a painful process, like there's heat involved, there's friction, there's a becoming something. Sparks. Yeah. So you have to have people in your life that you have given permission to and say, hey, man, maybe it's an area. It could be a personal thing. It could be a personal thing that's holding you back from leading well. It could be a production issue. It could be any one of those, but being able to have the right people. Yeah,
and you saw The Last Dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in The Last Dance, which is the documentary about Michael Jordan, they talk about Phil Jackson in there a lot. They talk about his coaching and his coaching style and how he manages personality and different people on the team, and how he would let Rodman would go off on these trips to Vegas and like in playoffs and not see him for 3 or 4 days and come back and he'd have a heck of a performance. But he understood that there was underlying things going on, and he knew how to coach everybody different. And it was never his way or the highway.
Right.
He was never the know-it-all. He understood people, and some of the best coaches know how to pull the best out of each individual person.
Right.
And the one thing that I love that we get to do in this insurance industry is when we talk about an insurance coach, this is so much more than teaching somebody how to sell a policy or make a phone call, right? It's so much more than writing a policy and being able to call a client and ask them if they need any other help or they know anybody else that might need some help as well.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that. We get to be we call it life coaches. We get to be life coaches, and it's no different than any of the best coaches out there. Because to me, it's all about when you're mentoring somebody, when you're helping somebody, it's about the mind, it's about the body, it's about the spirit, it's about the heart. And when you can mentor somebody and you can coach somebody in all 4 of those areas, it's more than selling, right? It's their mindset, it's their health. It's what are they doing, their health and their mindset, they eating healthy, are they working out? Are they getting into scripture? Are they watching something motivational? Are they getting into their faith? Are they having a positive attitude and negative attitude? What are the other things in life going on? And heart, which relates mainly back to the why they're doing anything. Is their heart in it? Is it not in it? If it's not, why is it not in it? What can we do to re-engage that? That picture is so faded they can't even see what it is. Let's pull out our crayons, our pencils, our watercolors. Yeah. Let's repaint this picture and start today.
Yeah.
And it's so important for a coach to be able to listen, analyze, strategize, adjust, execute, to be aware.
Yeah.
Self-awareness for yourself as a coach, but self-awareness and having that awareness for every member of your team to get the best out of them as individuals.
Yeah, and it has to start somewhere. Like this is really something where you have to get in the water with it and try it. And you're going to fail a lot. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you may not even know what to analyze, but just be you, Listening covers a lot of sins, Listen to people, encourage people, challenge people. If you can
be honest. Be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Don't act like you have every single answers,
That's
man.
right.
That's the biggest turnoff of any coach.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we hope this has been helpful for you guys. I'll tell you what, we do have a coaching program for Life Insurance Academy. You can check it out at lifeinsuranceacademy.org, and we cannot wait to see you on the next episode. Thanks a lot. See you later.